thank you so much for joining me on this episode of All the Things They Don't Want You to Know. I'm your podcast host, Angie Dunn. If you've never viewed me before, boy, are you in for a treat. Now, we're going to talk about banks because we've all been taught that we needed to save our money. Like I can remember even being a small child, my grandmother carrying me to the local bank because she wanted me to open my savings account. Which is great, right? Like it's nothing wrong with saving money, and it's definitely nothing wrong with being an adolescent and being taught that. Where I have a problem with it is we don't make any money in our savings account. We don't make any money with our bank, period. They pay us what, like 0.5% on our dollar? And then what do? They turn around and they make money on our money. So we are really going to lay out all the ins and outs of everything the banks don't want us to know on this episode. So if you're wondering how the banks are getting over on you, you might want to stay tuned. Are you ready to take control over your financial freedom? If you are, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I'm going to tell you, we're going to drop a lot of good episodes this year. It's going to be everything from fitness to fashion, to finance, to budgeting, to planning, things banks don't want you to know. Obviously, we're going to jump into a little bit of addiction. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about when is the best time and how to buy that new car or home. So you might want to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out. We spill the tea on everything. Now, banks have big secrets they don't want you to know. And we're going to disclose that today because we feel like it's costing you thousands of dollars by not knowing this information. Now let's talk about someone everybody either knows or has heard of, Warren Buffett. What do you know about Warren Buffett? He is the richest man in the world. And he has made huge financial changes for everybody. So a lot of people follow and listen to what Warren Buffett is doing, and they kind of like follow in his footsteps or try to follow in his footsteps because they're trying to be as financially free as he is. Warren Buffett is really known for his discovery of compound interest in 1960. He realized that the banks were making money off of his money. And, Warren Buffett being the financial guru that he is, he's like, oh, no, this is not going to continue. So he opened his own financial industry and he never borrowed another penny from the bank because he became his own bank. He learned the tricks. And we basically can disclose how you can do some of that as well. Banks thrive on the things that you don't know. Can we agree on that? And it's not just banks. I guess every industry thrives on things that you don't know. All right, let's look at some of the fees. Let's say you have a $5 a month service fee. Doesn't seem like much, right? You're like $5. No, I'm not really worried about $5. But $5 done for a year now is $60. Now you do that for 10 years, that's $600. Does that $5 a day seem like nothing when you're looking at it? How many years you've had your bank account? Trust me, I have had my exact same bank account probably since I've been 16 or 17 years old. So just think about that $5 a month. It adds up over time and it's your money. It's your money. They're taking your money right from you. Now you can change that. There are a lot of banks that will give you a free checking account. Free. So make sure if you're looking for another account or you go to another bank, you say, hey, I want a free checking account because you don't want to have to pay that fee. It's nonsense. Now let's get into your savings account. The savings account is what gets me, right? We've got to have the checking account because we got to pay the bills, right? We got to have the checking account because we've got to pay the light bill, the phone bill, the mortgage, the car insurance. I get it, right? So all your bill money is going to stay in that checking account. But every extra dollar outside of that normally goes in a savings account, right? Problem I have with your regular savings account at your bank is they give you a less than 0.5%. Less than 0.5%. Now think about this. Banks, they're in the money to make money. I don't know if you realize this, but banks don't have any money of their own. They have your money, right? That they use your money. So you put your money in that bank and you've been brainwashed to save your money in the bank, right? Save. And so you're saving in your savings account, right? You think you're doing the right thing. And they give you 0.5%. And then they take your money and they lend it out. And they're making 9 and 10% off the same money that you deposited that they gave you 0.5%. So banks basically are taking your money and they're buying stocks, bonds, real estate, and cash value life insurance. So they're making sure that your money is making them money constantly, whether they're lending it out and making an interest rate or they're reinvesting it into something that's going to make them more money. But not once did they share the profit with you. No, they gave you that 0.5%. Let's talk about inflation and how inflation eats away at your wealth when you've got it parked in a savings account. Let's say inflation is at 3% and you're only making 0.5% with the bank. You just lost 2.5% of your money due to inflation. Think about that, 2.5% due to inflation. Now, what are you going to do with your money, right? You're like, okay, Angie, we got it. We're not making any money in the bank, but what are we going to do to get our money to making money? Well, number one, we're still going to keep our checking account, but I would open something like a high yield savings account. You know, a high yield savings account traditionally is an online account. I have one myself. And I do want you to look for one that doesn't have any maintenance fees. I want you to look for one that doesn't have any requirements. I want you to look for one. Unfortunately, some of them will say, hey, you can only take out 5 times a month, 5 drafts out a month. You don't want that one. Do not get the one that says you got to keep a $5,000 balance. That's not a good one either. I actually have a free one. Okay. And I'm going to tell you who I personally use. I don't have any brand collaboration with them. They don't pay me to say this, but I do want you to know that I use Capital One high yield savings account. It's a 360 high yield savings. They were making like 4%. It's just a savings account. I can access to my money if I need to, but isn't 4% a whole lot better than that 0.5% that you're making? You know, Warren Buffett said it best. He said, if you don't learn how to get your money to making you money while you're asleep, you will work until you take your last breath. And there's never been a truer statement, in my opinion. So we've got to learn to take care of our money. Nobody's going to come in and do it for us. But that's why we're here, because we're going to spill the tea on that for you guys. Just remember, instead of parking your money in the bank, we want to look for ways that make us money without risk. So high yield savings accounts. CDs is another one. Some people like using the cash value life insurance and doing the infinite banking process. We want to make sure our money is making us money, but we don't want the risk. Now, one of the biggest ways that some banks make the most money is off of credit card interest rates. Some of the banks do offer credit cards, right? And these cards have got anywhere from 20 to 30% interest. So if you're making a minimal payment, the banks they're actually kind of happy because they're making money. Every time that you don't pay off your statement in full, they're making money. You know, if you got a credit card, it's at 21%. If you got a credit card, it's at 25%. And you only made like a minimal $30 payment every time that you made it and you didn't ever pay any extra. My gosh, have y'all really calculated the amount of interest that the bank is collecting? Now, the banks, they probably don't like people like me. I put everything on my credit card, everything, because I want to get the free miles. I want to get the free money. I want to get the free points. But I pay it off in full because I don't want to pay any interest. So now I'm using credit to, of course, gain wealth instead of letting them have the wealth. You know, you got to look at credit cards. They're basically, all the credit card companies, they're debt dealers. That's what they are. They're debt dealers. And they want to deal you more debt. Okay. They actually like when you don't pay off those credit cards. And in fact, they're going to offer you more cards. They're going to be like, hey, I've got a new card. This one will give you a higher balance. Of course, they want to increase your balance. If they increase your balance and you keep on charging and you keep on charging, you know, a $30,000 debt will turn into a $60,000 debt real quick just by adding interest when you're doing those monthly payments. And you're doing just the minimal. You're just doing the very bare minimal of what you have to pay. Yeah, they're going to keep on dealing you debt. They want you to have debt, right? Because that's what's making them money. You know, banks, have you ever had the bank say, hey, I want you to open a Roth IRA. I think it'll be a good investment for you. No, you haven't. Have you ever had the bank try to help you learn how to invest? No, they don't want you to invest. You got to understand that. They don't want you to invest. If you invest your money and your money starts making money, they know that you're going to put less in your checking account and savings account with them. So they're not ever going to teach you how to invest your money. They're definitely not going to teach you how to grow that money and double that money. Banks definitely don't want you to become financially independent. No, They want you to continue to be a borrower and a fee payer, because every time you need a loan, what do? You go to the bank and you borrow the money, and then you pay fees, and then you pay interest. They don't want you to learn to be financially independent, because if you were financially independent, you wouldn't need to borrow that money anymore. Basically, we got to get out of that work, earn, spend, borrow mentality. We got to get rid of that. We're done with that. You're going to educate yourself. And how are you going to do that? You're going to read books. You're going to watch my podcast. You're going to do some Google research. You're going to go to the library, whatever it takes. But I need you to understand that you can become educated and financially free. I want you to open a high yield savings account. Get your money to growing money. Okay. I want you to look at your debt, and let's talk about how we can pay a little bit more than those minimum payments and become debt free. Did you know that you can actually schedule an appointment with me? It doesn't cost you anything but your time. And we can sit down and do a financial analysis. We can look at your budget. We can look at what you're currently doing just to see if we can make any changes, because your financial freedom means the most to us. Just a little recap of what banks don't want you to know. They don't want you to know about their hidden fees. They don't want you to know about inflation eating away at your savings account. They definitely don't want to teach you about the credit card interest rates. They don't want you to know that they're taking your money and investing it to make themselves more money, to make themselves more profitable. These are all things that they don't want you to know, okay? Because if you knew it, then you would stop storing your money in the bank. If you knew it, then you would stop becoming the borrower and the payer of the fees of them. If you knew these things, then they would not be able to profit off of you, okay? So let's make a final change. One big step. We're going to use our savings account to pay our bills, and we're not going to leave another dollar in there. We're going to learn to get that money growing for you. Now, if you want to learn how to take dimes and turn them into dollars, schedule your free appointment with us, and we'll be more than happy to do a free financial analysis. Until then, guys, we want to make sure that you're compounding your interest and you're always protecting your family and your future.